it's difficult if you've got a job and bills to pay and everything, because you've still got to go to work and stuff. So you can't have somebody who needs 24-hour care at home if you have to go out to work. And so that's why people end up in the homes. But with the Asian community, they have that support network within themselves, so they take care of their elderly themselves, and that's why they're not in nursing homes. And they don't rely on the outside help, because they've got their own carers built in, because the women in that culture are most of them still stay at home as housewives, so they've all got that nurture thing going on with each other, and they take care of each other. So that's what happens with them, they take care of them. So the nursing homes are full of white British, if you like, because our circumstances are different, that's all. So they're not put in there because they're not wanted and they're not loved. They're put in there because the families can't cope anymore, because it is very, very tiring and exhausting. And you know, even when you work with people with Alzheimer's, if you're doing a 12-hour shift and you're like me, then you are working for 12 hours. You're not sitting down for 2 hours, 3 hours at a time chilling out, because there's always somebody on the run. There's always somebody doing something or needing something. So if you was living with somebody at home like that, you'd be exhausted. You'd just literally. So the controversial side of Alzheimer's for me is the way that I think, and I know people would have a go at me for this, but it is just an observation. And this is the other one, the change of personality from one thing straight to another. So there was one particular lady would say to me, I don't understand why my mum is going round effing and blinding and telling people to off, when my mum never swore. She was never like that. My mum would never have behaved like that. My mum was a really good mum, and she was a good friend to people, and she was well liked in the community, and she would never have behaved like that. And I thought, that's a sad thing that she's become aggressive and like that. But when I'm analysing later and thinking about stuff, I'm like, when we're well, mentally and physically, we have two voices. We have the one in our head and the one that comes out of our mouth. And somewhere in between, there is something that I call a filter. So you could be stood in a situation, let's say you're getting bullied, but you're an introvert and you don't like any kind of confrontation. So you're standing there, and to that bully you appear to be a weak person. You just stood there all quiet and like, you know, I'm not saying anything back, I'm not saying anything, I'm not fighting with you. And that person's going on at you and on at you and on at you. And in your head, you're telling them to off. You might be doing stuff like pretending to karate chop them or whatever, or throw them over playground or whatever else. In your head, you've got a scenario going on of, don't you talk to me like that and don't treat me like that. But what comes through the filter is this little mouse who doesn't react and say what you want to say, because you're scared of the consequence. So the consequence stops you doing it, because you think, if I say these things and do these things and act it out, they will beat me up, and then I'm going to not only get picked on, but I'm going to get battered as well. And so the filter stops you from expressing how you really feel about something. And there's been many, 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 many times in my life when I have used my filter full 100%, because what's going on in my head and what comes out of my mouth are two completely different things. The controversial side of this with Alzheimer's, I think, is when you get there, the filter falls off. It malfunctions with your other senses, and that filter stops you from whatever's in here coming out, so it does come straight out. And then I thought to myself, you know, this lady who's become very, very aggressive in her words and telling people to off, I wonder if she spent most of her life wanting to do that in her head, but she couldn't. And so she used her filter and then showed a side that was calm and serene, and like I said, well renowned in the community for being a nice person. But is that because she was taught how to be a lady? Ladies don't swear, ladies don't answer back, ladies don't shout, ladies don't do that. Mums don't get angry like that and scream at the children and blah blah. They stay calm. So was she trained to be a kind, nice person on the outside, but inside she had a lot of frustrations that she couldn't express because she didn't want to appear to be a horrible person and unladylike? Because that generation, I'd call them, in some ways they were very different to us in some ways, because they were more, I don't know, they were more community based, and people looked after each other, and it was kind of a more nurturing time. I don't know, I see women being a bit more aggressive now because we can freely express our emotions, because we don't consider ourselves to be second best or anything anymore. We just, most of us now have got more confidence to express ourselves, because we can go out and do anything a man can do, basically. Not everything, but you know what I mean. And so the times have changed. You know, I remember quite a lot of women who'd been married for like 30, 40, 50 years and stuff like that, and they were really dutiful wives, and they were brought up with this attitude of, you made your bed, you will lie in it. So if you married the wrong man, that was your fault and you had to just deal with it. But women, quite a lot, were quite suppressed because they couldn't just walk out of a marriage, and they couldn't do this and that. So they had to watch how they behaved. And so, and they were, you know, I just see it different. I think that when that lady started effing and jeffing with Alzheimer's, it's because she'd always wanted to eff and jeff, but she held back because she was brought up to be a lady. Ladies don't speak like that. We don't swear. Only fishermen's wives swear like that. You know, other women are just, they don't do that. So I honestly do think that. And then the other swing, the other way, there was the complete opposite. And there was a lady who was, when I knew her, she was always humming, and she would try and knit, but she couldn't do it anymore. But she'd sit there with a ball of wool and her fingers, and she'd just be looking like she's knitting. And her daughter used to say, I don't get this. My mum was always really, really not violent but aggressive, and my mum used to rule our neighbourhood, and everybody was scared of my mum. Even her husband was scared of her. So we were all like, oof, you know, mum's not playing today, she's really, don't go near mum, she's in a right bad mood, and she's swearing and she's shouting. So we all stayed away, and she never got bullied, and she never had anything happen to her from someone, because people were scared, even men. She said, look at her now, sitting there humming. I don't know who this woman is. And again, later on, I'm thinking, was she acting that way in her younger life because she had to? Did she have an horrible experience in her childhood that made her become defensive in her later years? Did she act like that to protect herself? Because if you go around like a guard dog all the time with the teeth out, people will stay away from you, and you're not going to get hurt by them. So was she just doing that to protect herself and her family? And now that the filter's gone, she doesn't need to do that anymore. You know, it's like, it's gone. I don't need to do this. It's a controversial thing to say, because people say that the behavioural changes are not, you can't help where they go, and they can't help where they go. But is it their inner mind, their inner thoughts that are getting freely expressed now? You know, is it literally just that? And I know it's hard to get your head around it, but the amount of people that I met over the years, though, that made me think, you are literally a walking storybook. and I'm watching how you lived in the past. And I remember there was a lady who used to walk down the corridor, and she used to go like that all the time, just stand and go like that, and they'd go, and I'd say, what is she doing? And they'd go, she's just reenacting, she's just doing something stupid, she's just prattling about. And I looked at her and I watched and I went, she's washing windows. And they're like, what, in mid-air? I said, she's washing a window. And then she'd get on the floor and then she'd do circular movements on the floor, and I'd say, she's scrubbing floor. And they're looking like, she's just playing with the carpet. I said, no, she's scrubbing floor. And then I'd watch her, and then she'd be doing stuff like this. And I said, she's pegging the washing out. And then you'd see her do stuff like that, and I said, now she's dusting. And when her husband came, I said, was your wife really house proud? And he went, oh yes. Oh, when I came home from work, that house was immaculate. She always had a meal ready. She always had something on the table waiting for me, and that house was immaculate. She was always cleaning. I said, did she scrub floors and stuff? He went, oh, she did the donkey stoning. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, they lived in an old terraced house, and they all had concrete steps. And what they do is they get chalk, and they chalk the steps so it was always white. And he said, he said it was almost like a ritual for some of the women to keep a really clean doorstep, and it was something she always did. And he said, and we had the cleanest windows on the street. And I thought, yeah, there you go. She was reenacting who she was. So I was seeing her in her younger years, and I thought, isn't that interesting? If you watch a documentary, you're watching somebody from the past, you know, like a documentary from the 50s, 60s, and you're watching those people from the past live their lives at that time, and you look at them and go, oh yeah, I can see now how you lived. When someone's got Alzheimer's, you can see it in them as well, because they are where they go, and you can sort of see what kind of people they were, because they're not the same when they're very elderly, and it shows. Some people got exposed, and this is hilarious, right? There was one guy, he used to be a judge, and his wife was obviously very middle class and blah blah, and there were lovely people, very straight. He was a very straight guy, and he was very strong, and he was tall, and his wife always wanted him dressed really smart, because that's how he dressed. And I remember going in his room, and as soon as he'd see me, he'd go, have you got your pen and paper? And I'd say, yeah. And he'd go, take the notes. So I'd just pretend to write the notes down. So he obviously was treating me as a secretary or a PA or something like that. And then one day he went, come and sit on my lap. And I thought, oh yeah. And his wife thought, my husband was a professional judge and he did this. And I thought, yeah, okay. I could have been completely wrong, but I can't help thinking, yeah, okay. Yeah, your husband was a very professional man, but he liked his secretaries. I could be wrong. I don't know. This is all my opinion, by the way. Don't take anything I'm saying as read, as gospel. But it's the analysing people and seeing things, and I'm like, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to do another talk, because I had this thought yesterday as well about something else, but I'm going to do a talk about whistleblowing, because I'm going to blow these places apart, because I always have, and I don't care. I don't have any, there's nothing in me that feels guilty about exposing abuse, and I think everyone should do it, but I'm going to do another video about that next time. But Alzheimer's, go where they are, understand that it's real to them, because their bodies will play out as well. They will have the same emotions they had back then, so everything's so real to them. So just go with them, but be the voice of reason. So if they go back to a trauma, offer the solution. Lie through your front teeth. It's fine to lie when someone's struggling like that, and just tell them that there was an happy ending. Give them a happy ending. So if they say, you know, like that lady who said that son's gone missing, and I just know in my heart I know there's something wrong. If you can find them in a place like that, just break the good news to them and say, I've just been speaking to this person and they're absolutely fine and they're coming home soon and they've told me to tell you not to worry. Just do that with them and it calms them down. And having that understanding of people helps them as well. But also take note of where they go, because they're telling you who they were, even though they don't realise. They're telling you and showing you who they was. And I think it's important that we listen to these people, because we can learn a lot from them. I'm going to leave it there for now, because I've got to try and add this one onto the other one. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to try and edit this video and put it on. But anyway, I will go and I will see you in the next video, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.